So thank you all for joining us today on Earth Day. My name is Stephanie Seapack. I'm with Fireman Fisk Advocacy Communications, and we're here today to discuss important investments the Michigan legislature should be making as lawmakers develop and ultimately pass the upcoming state budget. We're recording this and we'll make a video available to media afterwards. I'll moderate our press conference today. Joining me is Carly Knott, Energy and Climate Policy Coordinator with the Michigan Environmental Council, Jane McCurry, Executive Director of Clean Fuels Michigan, Darrell Slaughter with NRDC, Michigan Policy Director, Climate and Energy, Charles Griffith, Director of Climate and Energy Program and Ecology Center, Megan Owens, Executive Director of Transportation Riders United, and Chris Semrenick, State Government Affairs Manager for the Michigan League of Conservation Voters. So thank you for joining us today. And with that, I'll turn things over to Carly.
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm Carly Knott. I'm the Energy and Climate Policy Coordinator for Michigan Environmental Council. And it's great to be talking with you all on Earth Day because a lot of the investments that we are about to lay out would really greatly benefit our air, land, and water here in Michigan. So I wanted to start off today by talking about affordable, healthy housing here in Michigan. The majority of our homes in Michigan were built before 1970, so really a lot of our homes are starting to age, and with that comes a lot of different housing issues that residents have to deal with, and many of the folks living in these homes are also low-income residents. So we're asking lawmakers to invest $100 million into a whole home retrofit fund, and this would help to ensure that the existing low-income housing that we have is of good quality and safe and affordable for the people who are living there. And so this funding would help ensure that these homes are free of pollutants, that folks are able to stay warm through the winters, and that homes are more resilient to some of the effects that we've been seeing from climate change here in Michigan. So the funding would be able to address kind of a lot of different issues that we see with aging houses. So minor home repairs like fixing roofs or upgrading wiring, doing some toxin remediation, so addressing asbestos or lead in homes, doing weatherization work, or upgrading to energy efficient electric appliances. So we would love to see a good investment there. And then we're also looking to kind of have some more funding go towards the weatherization assistance program here in Michigan. It's currently funded through the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, which is federal funding that Michigan receives. And Michigan is able to allocate up to 15% of those funds towards the weatherization assistance program, which then helps low-income residents be able to weatherize their homes and make them more energy efficient. But in the past, Michigan has allocated much less than 15% of those funds towards the program, and much less than a lot of our neighboring Midwestern states, including Ohio. So it would be great to see that full 15% being allocated towards the weatherization assistance program. And then we would also like to see $30 million going towards workforce development for building electrification and energy efficiency so that we have workers who have the skills and training to be able to do a lot of this housing work. And ideally, those funds would be targeted towards low income or environmental justice communities so that we're training more of those workers or any workers who may be impacted by our current transition to clean energy. So those are our main housing asks for today. Thank you. I can answer some questions later, but I'd like to turn it over to Jane.
Thank you, Carly. Hi, my name is Jane McCurry, and I serve as the Executive Director of Clean Fuels Michigan. Along with making our homes and buildings more energy efficient, we should be ensuring that Michigan communities, households, and fleets have access to cleaner vehicles. Transportation is the #1 polluting sector of our economy nationwide, and so we want to make sure that Michiganders have access to clean vehicles that reduce dangerous pollution and save drivers money. With the global shift toward clean and advanced mobility, it's especially important that Michigan continue to lead in this pivotal moment in the automotive industry. That's why we're asking Michigan lawmakers to support clean fleet initiatives in this year's state budget. This includes $50 million to provide grants to municipalities, transit authorities, and ports to replace medium and heavy-duty fleet vehicles with emission-free alternatives such as electric vehicles. Governor Whitmer dedicated some funding toward clean fleets in her executive recommendation, and we encourage lawmakers to accept that recommendation and enhance it by including small private fleet operators, as we know small businesses are also interested in participating in the clean vehicle transition. The state of Michigan itself is also going through a fleet transition, committing to zero emission vehicles. We applaud this effort and we support a $2 million appropriation in funds to help kickstart and continue that transition effort. We also encourage lawmakers to invest $65 million in electric vehicle charging infrastructure to fill gaps and further leverage federal funding from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act, which are already deploying charging infrastructure across Michigan and in our communities. Converting state and municipal fleet vehicles to cleaner vehicles, along with building the necessary charging infrastructure to refuel those vehicles across Michigan, is a really important opportunity to reduce transportation sector emissions in our communities. With that, I will turn it over to Darrell.
Thanks, Jane, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Darrell Slaughter. I serve as the Michigan Climate and Energy Policy Director for the Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC. Last year, the legislature passed, with Governor Gretchen Whitmer, signed historic climate and clean energy legislation. These groundbreaking new standards for the Midwest will be groundbreaking in terms of the Midwest, moving Michigan to achieve 100% clean energy by 2040 and increasing the standards and investment in our state's energy efficiency there. Michigan seized on the opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to combating climate change and ensuring a sustainable, just, and prosperous state for our future with the passage and signing of those laws. The law ultimately will translate into cleaner air, water, and a better health for everyone, which is why we fully support the administration's support for investing just under $6 million to hire 31 full-time employees to the Michigan Public Service Commission. These critical resources are needed to fully implement those clean energy climate and clean energy laws. The increased resources will enable the Michigan Public Service Commission to efficiently manage their renewable energy siting responsibilities, implement the new renewable energy and clean energy standards, and the new energy efficiency standard increases there. They also help the Public Service Commission to do a bit more of the work that they're already doing in terms of holding the utilities accountable with the additional resources and employees there. In addition, the commission is going to need the support to be able to implement their new guidelines around considering climate equity and affordability in their long-range energy plan cases known as integrated resource plans. This historic shift in our state must be matched by the investment in the state agency to be able to do the work it needs to implement these laws successfully. I want to thank you for your time, and I'm going to turn it over to Charles. Charles?
Hey, thank you, Darrell. My name is Charles Griffith, and I'm the Director of Climate and Energy Program for the Ecology Center. So along with the clean fleets and EV charging infrastructure funding that Jane mentioned a few minutes ago, we're also asking for funding to support new rebate programs for Michiganders who buy electric vehicles and also electric bicycles, or what are commonly known as e-bikes. As Jane mentioned, transportation pollution is now higher than any other sector in driving climate change, and is also a leading source of air pollutants causing asthma and other negative health effects for people across our state. And it's in this context that we want to also ensure that the Michigan Vehicle Rebate Program that was proposed by Governor Whitmer focuses its incentives on zero emission vehicles and makes those rebates available for the Michiganders who could most benefit from them. We support the proposed bonus that was for union assembled vehicles, And we would also encourage extending incentives to used electric vehicles as well to further extend access to EVs for Michiganders. And by the way, congratulations to the UAW members on their historic win down in Tennessee at the VW plant there. We wish them continued success. Now, of course, the purchase of electric vehicles requires having adequate access to charging infrastructure, which is why we support funding the build out of the state's EV charging network, particularly in underinvested regions of the state. There's also a number of important federal funding opportunities for EV charging, and the state's additional investments here would work hand in glove with that, increasing the state's competitiveness in winning those federal funds. And this could support additional investments in community charging near multi-family housing, for example, as well as charging infrastructure for heavy and medium duty commercial vehicles, and complement the existing federal NEVI programs that have primarily funded charging infrastructure along highway corridors. So additionally, we're advocating for $8 million in funding to support a new incentive program for electric bicycles, as a number of other states have now done. With this money, the state could establish and implement an e-bike program that would issue discount vouchers to residents who purchase eligible electric assist bicycles, with higher benefits for income qualified residents. And this could especially benefit Michiganders who can't now afford to purchase an automobile, for example, and may not be on a bus line. So as we celebrate Earth Day, also many Michiganders just want the more healthy, affordable, and clean ways of getting around that e-bikes can provide. So an incentive program to help promote these, more purchase of these vehicles would really be helpful. Thanks for the chance to comment today, and I'll pass things off now to my colleague, Megan.
Thanks so much, Charles. My name is Megan Owens. I'm the Executive Director of Transportation Riders United, also known as TRUE. And clean fleets and electric vehicles are great parts of making Michigan a leader in clean transportation. They also need to be matched by investments that make it easier and more attractive to walk, bike, and ride public transportation, instead of Michiganders feeling like they always have to drive. It's essential that Michigan invest another $120 million in the budget for the Michigan Department of Transportation's Comprehensive Transportation Fund, or CTF, to fund several important priorities. First and foremost, we need at least $60 million more for local bus operating than the governor proposed. This funding is critical to maintain local buses and hopefully improve them running throughout all of Michigan, because let's face it, not everybody can drive and not everybody can afford a car, yet we all need reliable ways of getting to work, to school, to doctor's appointments, and more. Michigan recently found that the costs of running transit across the state increased by 9% just last year. So local bus operating funding must increase by at least that much to not go backwards. Both the My Healthy Climate Plan and the Growing Michigan Together Council recognize that expanding public transit is critical to meeting our state's climate commitments and our population growth goals. That requires expanded appropriations. These investments will also leverage further federal investments, electrifying buses and more, to give us cleaner Earth days for years to come. MDOT's budget also needs to include $30 million for rail operations and infrastructure to improve options for traveling across Michigan, and $30 million for the Transportation Alternatives Program to invest in safe, convenient ways to walk and bike throughout our state. This Earth Day, increasing funding for buses, bikes, and rail is essential to provide Michiganders the attractive, affordable transportation options so many want, and in a way that won't destroy the planet. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I will hand it over to Chris to wrap us.
Thanks so much, Megan. My name is Chris Semerneck, and I serve as the State Government Affairs Manager for the Michigan League of Conservation Voters, or MLCV. And every day and everyone on this panel speaks to lawmakers about how Michigan's budget really is a reflection of our priorities and an investment in our state's future. I want to thank all my colleagues for laying out the specifics and really going in depth for all those budget asks. But really the big picture is that Michigan deserves a budget that supports a healthier, cleaner, and more sustainable Michigan for many Earth days to come. Whether it's through a series of transformative investments in transportation that advance our state's leadership in the transition to electric vehicles, or providing whole home retrofits so more Michigan residents can feel more comfortable and healthier in their homes, or ensuring that our Michigan Public Service Commission is staffed up to the level needed to hold utility companies accountable and implement nation-leading clean energy laws. The Michigan budget is a reflection of how we view our state and what we prioritize. That's why it is so critical for Michigan lawmakers to support Governor Gretchen Whitmer's budget recommendations and the additional priorities that we've laid out here today. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and I'll turn it back over to our wonderful moderator.
Thank you. Thank you to our speakers for joining us today. I know some media joined us a little bit late. We have a full recording available for those if that's the case for you. But let's open it up to questions from media. If you have your name and outlet, you can come off mute and ask a question. Yeah, Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. You know, as the budget from the COVID-19 funding kind of goes back to a normal range, is there budget items that you guys think should be dropped in lieu of the extra, environmental items that you guys named? Because I mean, you only have a certain threshold to meet, so you have to give somewhere. And where do you guys think should be given?
Thanks for that question, Andrew. We are going to send around a list of the priority items that were laid out by our speakers today too, when I send around the press release. So you have specific numbers, excuse me. But why don't I turn that question over to Darrell, if you want to give it a go and start us off.
Sure. I'll give a crack at that. And absolutely, I mean, obviously recognizing the reality of, we're not in the exact same funding situation. And so, as you heard, I mean, this is a long list of priorities for our coalition. And so I think in terms of, as opposed to prioritizing items we would like to drop, I think what you've heard are items that we're definitely uplifting and spending a lot of our time, at least I can speak for my organization, in terms of uplifting these priorities that were laid out today. And so, yes, obviously, again, recognizing there's a ton here, but I think the items here that we're really considering as really essential as being part of a final budget, but let other folks chime in there.
Yeah, Carly, do you have anything to add? I mean, obviously with home weatherization, there's money that goes back into people's pockets, so there's that impact too. Maybe you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think we've thought carefully kind of about which priorities we'd like to kind of lift up this year. And we think a lot of them are really great opportunities for kind of saving folks money while at the same time helping our environment. As for kind of what we maybe would not want to prioritize, I think that's really up to the legislators as they're doing their job to kind of choose which things to prioritize. But we would like to just keep uplifting, the things that we really would like to see.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions from reporters? All right, well, I appreciate everybody's time. Like I said, I'll follow up with a press release that lists out the items too, but if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And thank you again for our speakers and for the media joining us today, and happy Earth Day. Bye, everyone.